Hello. How's everybody doing today? Brother John Stewart on behalf of Lost Sheep Ministries, here to take y'all on another little walk with the word for the day. So today, I got a little bit of a weird lesson, something I never expected to be teaching on, but something David brought up, one of his Psalms, looking in his heart, and it's something I didn't even think would be in his heart, but it is in his heart, and I'm going to share this concept with y'all tonight. So I'm going to share with you Psalm 139, verses 19 through 24. So in Psalm 139, the Lord tells us this. He says, "Surely thou wilt slay the wicked. O God, depart from me, therefore, ye bloody men. For they speak against thee wickedly, and thine enemies take thy name in vain. Do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee? And am I not grieved with those that rise up against thee? I hate them with a perfect hatred. I count them my enemies. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." Man, that's crazy. I never thought as a Christian, you know what I'm saying, a follower of Jesus, I never felt that there's a place for hatred in the heart of a Christian of any kind. You know what I'm saying? Because Jesus was all about love. But at the same time, if you read over in the book of Ecclesiastes, it does say there's a time for everything, including a time for hate. So then you got to ask yourself, what kind of situation that would call for hatred? Where hatred would be, you know what I'm saying, a valid thing that you can use. And the situation that would call for hatred is any situation toward things that oppose the kingdom of God. You see, when your heart is really given to God, just like he's had your back, you're going to have his back. So anything he hates, you hate as well. And there's nothing that God hates more than sin. Nothing that he hates more than sin, because we don't understand sin is so deceitful. People really don't realize how much sin robs them of. You know, there's this concept that I've always taught my kids ever since they was little. And I would tell them when they do stuff they're not supposed to do, I was like, yes, sin gives. You know what I'm saying? Sin gives. I'll be a liar if I, you know how they say crime pay. I'll be a liar if I say sin don't give. Sin gives, but it always takes way more than it gives. It always takes more than it gives. Yes, it'll give you pleasure. Yes, it'll give you fame. Yes, it can give you material things, but it'll take your joy. You know, it'll take your peace. You know, but more importantly, it'll take you out of the grace of God. And to me, there's nothing that this world have that it can offer me that is worth me losing the grace of God. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, Jesus even talked about this over in the book of Matthew 16, when he said, "What would it profit a man that gains the whole world but forfeits his soul in the process?" You know what I'm saying? I remember DMX had a song, and he had a line in the song. He said, "I sold my soul to the devil, and the price was cheap." And that's essentially the same thing that Jesus is saying. Like, even if you gain the whole world is still not worth your soul. So even if you gain the whole world, that's a cheap price to pay for your soul. So the devil is willing to give it over. Matter of fact, if you think about it, if you know your Bible, because actually I just happen to be going to a Bible study with my kids in Matthew chapter 4, that's what the devil tried to offer Jesus. So like, man, I give you the whole world. He said he showed him the whole world in a moment of time. He said, I give it all to you if you just bow down and worship me. You know what I'm saying? And of course, Jesus is like, you only worship the Lord thy God. So he tried to trick Jesus, but Jesus knew, man, the whole world, it ain't worth it. Nothing is worth your soul. And especially not this old world is definitely not worth your soul. You know, and that's why God hates sin so much, because sin is basically a big scam. You know what I'm saying? But because of our free will, all he can do is sit back and watch for us to fall for this scam every single time. You know what I'm saying? All he can do is sit back and watch so many of his children hand over their souls, and in reality, they really get nothing in return. You know what I'm saying? So that's why he hated so much. And if you really love the Lord, you will hate sin as well. If you really love the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And that's what David was saying. He was saying, man, I have a perfect hatred because I hate things that are against you. And we should too. When you see injustice, you should hate that injustice. When you see sin, people openly commit sin, you should hate that sin. You know what I'm saying? It's valid for you to hate that sin. You know, God's enemies should be your enemies. And therefore, the things that God hates, you should hate. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, and I want to make sure you understand that. Here's the thing. It has to be a perfect hatred. It has to be a perfect hatred. And in order for it to be a perfect hatred, you have to make sure it's pointed in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to hate sin. That's not a problem. But it's not okay to hate the sinner. And that's where a lot of Christians miss the mark. You know what I'm saying? That's where a lot of us miss the mark, because we go after the people instead of going after the sin that the people are committing. And that's not how Jesus operates. If you saw Jesus, they didn't like Jesus because I think something that bit me on my forehead. But they didn't like Jesus because Jesus hung out with sinners. You know what I'm saying? He hung out with sinners. So it showed Jesus, it showed you that he didn't hate sinners. He never, matter of fact, Jesus never showed any kind of hatred or hostility towards sinners. The only one he really got on and really, you know what I'm saying, so I wouldn't never say hatred, but show some hostility to were church people, oddly enough. But you never see Jesus show any kind of hatred towards sinners. Now, he didn't condone what they did, but he also didn't condemn them for what they did neither. I mean, think about, you got the woman at the well. He was talking to her one time, and he was like, man, just go get your husband, because she wasn't getting it, obviously. So he was like, you know, got frustrated, like, hey, just go get your husband. And she said, well, I don't have a husband. And he said, you right in saying so, because you've had 5 husbands, and you shacked up with boyfriend number 6. He didn't get all over her and call her all kind of whores and say, yeah, you don't have a husband because you know, open your legs for everybody. No, he didn't do none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? He sit there, he was patient with her and gave her the gospel. And guess what? Not only did she get saved, she went back and brought everybody in the village out, and everybody in the village got saved because of this woman. See, he wasn't condoning what she did, but at the same time, he didn't condemn her neither. And then you got the woman that was one time that was caught in an adultery. Something definitely bit me in my head. You got the woman that was caught in adultery. You know, all these guys bring it up. Hey, man, she was caught in a very active adultery. According to the law, she got to die. What say you? And then Jesus said, all right, if that's the law said, do it. Go ahead. He said, but he without sin cast the first stone. And what happened? It said one by one, from the least to the oldest to the least, I believe it said, one by one, they all just kind of walked away. And then, you know, Jesus didn't even pay attention to them. And then it said eventually Jesus looked up and like, hey, where's your captives? I mean, where's those that accuse you? Did not one of them condemn you? And she said, no, my Lord. He said, I don't neither. See, he didn't condone what she was doing, but he didn't condemn it neither. And when he said, I don't neither. But he did say, go and sin no more. See, that's what you're supposed to do. He attacked the sin. He told her, hey, don't do that no more. You know you're not supposed to be doing that. But he didn't attack her. And that's what we get messed up at Christian. Yes, again, we're supposed to hate the sin, but don't hate the sinner. You look at Matthew. Matthew was one of his followers, his close disciple. He called him while he was in his tax collection booth, which you know, the tax collector was some of the most hated people in Israel because they was all corrupt. Same with a guy named Zacchaeus. You know what I'm saying? Ended up having dinner at his house, even though he was corrupt. You know what I'm saying? So your hatred towards sin is valid because of your love for God. That makes it valid. But like I said, just make sure it's pointed in the right direction at the sin and not the sinner. Because if it's pointed at the sin and not the sinner, only then can it be considered a perfect hate. And this has been your little walk with the word for the day. I pray these are blessing y'all. If they are, make sure you like, tag, share, comment, save it to your TikTok, do all that stuff for me. Make sure you give me a follow. I appreciate y'all doing that. It helps me out. If you want to catch my full sermons, catch me on Facebook Live, Monday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I post them on my Facebook page, and I also put them on my YouTube page. And of course, you want to catch all my little social media outlets, just go to lostsheepministry.com. You can find them all there. And if you're not 100% sure about your salvation, reach out to me and let me know. I'll put some time in my schedule to go over the gospel with you. I love you all, and thank you for being here. Remember, always watch your back and pray. Until next time, peace.